Oh, there we go.
I'm ready.
All right, sounds good. We will go ahead and call to order. This is the city council regular business meeting for Thursday, October 19th, 2023. It is 6:01 PM. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Reba. Here. Cool,
Here.
Livingston. Here. Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well, so we do have a quorum. So we will move on. Item number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. We're going to move items 7E and 7F from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the other consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Reba. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item 4 is a dedicated work session. We don't have any at this meeting tonight, so we'll go to item number 5. Welcome guests and public comment. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you participating in your local government. It's great. We would open up the dais at this point in time for, if you'd like to comment on a non-agenda item, we'll give you a 3-minute time limit. Realize we can't take action on those tonight since they aren't on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. And
Good
please-
evening.
Please take your name.
My name is
address.
Dennis Anderson. I live at 2415 Lexington Drive here in Norwalk. First of all, I want to start and say thank you for serving the citizens of Norwalk. I know the things that you have to look at, think about, and public comments that you sometimes hear about yourself. I served on the city council and mayor of Council Bluffs in the 70s. So I've been in your shoes, sat in your seat. So I understand what you're going through at times. What I'd like to talk about is something that I know you're going to be talking about later under closed sessions. I'm a little disappointed in some of the ongoing to the city of Norwalk. Moved here 3 years ago. And I was under the impression when I moved to Norwalk, where I bought my home, there was going to be a senior community on Colonial Circle. Saw renderings, or at least advanced renderings of the 55 community there. And I thought, great, what a wonderful place to be. If I need to move further into my age, I'd be close to where I started off in Norwalk. Then I find that there's a lot of been changes, upsets in sale of the property to another developer. And I want to comment on the developers. Where I live now, there are some private streets which should have never been authorized by this council or prior councils. Private streets are driveways. And you're shortchanging the people that live there because you give them no city services on those streets. And that's not right, because they're paying the same city taxes as anybody else that lives in Norwalk. So in the future, if I ever see that on the agenda before, again, I will be here with stormtroopers. Very much opposed to private streets in the city of Norwalk. I know it saves you a lot of money, but it costs the residents by the property there a lot of money that have to eventually maintain those streets and do snow removal. As to the development, I don't know what the hell is going on with you people or the powers that be in the city of Norwalk. Why a developer has been allowed to have their way with you over all these years. And it's got to stop. You've got to stand up for the regular citizens of Council Bluffs, or of, excuse me, Norwalk, and take care of them before you take care of developers. And I think you've given way too many attaboys. We'll let you take care of that. to Hubble development. And I see now they've got another 55 community on the books up to the northeast in the city. Are they going to really follow through with that? They certainly didn't follow through with the first. And all I can say is, I'm glad that somebody did take this to litigation, and I hope the litigation turns out in favor of the citizens of Norwalk and not the developer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Item number 6, presentations. We have an MPO update. Gunnar and Dylan are here. We'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Dylan Mullenix. I'm the interim director for the Des Moines area MPO, and here to give you an update of just what the MPO has been up to over the last couple of years. We typically try to come out and meet with the city councils from all of our member communities each year. However, because of COVID and some staffing transition we've been going through, it's been a while since we've been out here. So apologize for that, but we're trying to get back in this habit of doing this regularly. So hopefully this isn't the last time you see us, over the next couple of years. We can do this pretty much annually if you're open to that. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the MPO is, and then also get into some of the more upcoming projects and things of note that we just want to make sure that you're aware of here. In terms of the MPO, I know some of you know what the MPO is, but I don't want to assume that everybody knows everything about the MPO. So I'll start from basics a little bit here. The MPOs are federally required organizations that look at transportation at a regional level. They're required in urban areas over 50,000 in population. And they're really made up of all the cities and the counties, the transit authorities and so forth in that area. So they're federally required, but they're locally derived. They were really created back in the 1960s when the interstate system was being developed. As the interstate was going across the country, they thought, the USDOT looked at it and said, when we get those urban areas, they're pretty complex. Let's create some sort of mechanism by which those communities can get together and figure out how the interstate is going to affect that transportation system, and so that the federal government doesn't have to do that. So that's really where they got their impetus. And they're really, it's a board, it's a committee, it's all of you and your peers from throughout the communities, throughout the region, getting together and having those tough conversations. So that's really what that is. The MPOs, in terms of what we do and what we don't do, there's a couple of key things that the MPOs do. So like I said, it's that forum for decision making. A former director of ours, Tom Kane, used to say the MPO is really the table and the chairs for the region. It's that you and your peers do all those decision makings. We're the staff for it. We provide that venue, but it's really up to you. We identify transportation solutions. We analyze, we study, we fund. We develop what's called a transportation improvement program, which is similar to a CIP that you would do at your local level, but it's everything that's federally required. It's kind of the programming mechanism there. We have to look at performance measures. So we're not doing things, we're not recommending things just because of political reasons. We have to do them because they're performance based. There's a rationale behind them. And we have to involve the public. What MPOs don't do, I like to mention this, especially when we're talking to members of the public. We're not DART, we're not the DOT, we don't fix potholes. We don't really build, own, or operate anything. Like I said, it's really just that forum to get that consensus-based approach to our regional transportation system. Looking more at our MPO specifically, we are one of 9 MPOs in the state. So we're the largest one that's completely within the state. The Omaha Council Bluffs metro area probably has the larger one, but most of that's on the Omaha side of things. Our MPO, like I said, has been around in one form or another since the 1960s, but previous to 1983, it was part of a regional planning commission that did more than just transportation. Since 1983, it's been pretty much a standalone transportation entity. And so this is our 40th anniversary in that venue as of being just standalone transportation. We are a 28E organization. We also have bylaws. Our 28E and our bylaws were last updated in 2018. And those updates, I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute. It really had to do with a lot with our structure, and I'll talk about the structure of the MPO in a moment. And we have 20 member communities. Up there on that map, you can see that there's a black line. So any communities that are within that black line and over 3,000 in population are members. So that's 16 cities, portions of 3 counties, and DART. We do have a number of communities that are either outside that boundary, or the city of Cumming, for example, is within that boundary, but they're below that 3,000 threshold. So they're just associate non-voting members. They don't pay dues, but they get a seat at the table, essentially. In looking at our committee structure, there's really 3 main committees to the MPO, and I'm talking about 2 of them up here, but there's also a technical committee that pretty much follows the policy committee structure there. all of our member communities get to appoint who they want to serve on the MPO. So for the last number of years, Councilwoman Riva has been on there and she's been doing a great job and currently serves as a vice chair for the MPO. Every community can appoint whoever they want. Most of the time it's a council member, mayor, city administrator, something like that. Once in a while, it's a just interested citizen. It's up to you. And then it's population based from there. So everybody gets one. At every 50,000 thereafter, you get another representative. So for our region, everybody starts with one. Ankeny and West Des Moines have 2 reps. The city of Des Moines has 5 representatives. And this was one of the changes we made back in 2018. Now, we used to have a board of 40 some member communities because Des Moines had like 10 representatives on it. So we really contracted it to make it a little bit more efficient. We also have our executive committee, which is a subset of that. And this is also population based. So the larger communities of Des Moines, Ankeny, West Des Moines, as well as Polk County have a permanent seat on that board. And then the other communities are in one of 3 sub areas, and those sub areas select their representatives. And again, Councilwoman Riva has been selected by that Southwest sub area to serve on the MPO. Those committees are part of a larger structure for the MPO. So we have a number of subcommittees, roundtables, working groups. And the idea behind this is that our staff, much less our board, knows everything about every aspect of transportation. So we want to hear from the experts in those fields. We want to hear from the freight providers. We want to hear from the bicycle pedestrian enthusiasts. We want to hear from the environmentalists of how we can improve things and get their input into that mechanism. So it's kind of complicated sometimes as we work on things. We want to make sure that it's been vetted by a lot of different groups before it gets to the point where we're giving millions of dollars to a project that is going to move forward for our region. So I'll move on now and talk a little bit about more of the projects that we have coming up. One is our long-range transportation plan. And this is one of the core federal requirements for MPOs. We have to do this once every 5 years. And our next plan is due in November of 2024. The plan is important because anything that is going to seek federal funding from the US DOT has to be in that plan or justified by that plan. So something we want to put on your radar is start thinking about projects that you want to have federal funding for maybe someday, whether that's through the MPO, and I'll talk about our funding in a moment, or it's through a discretionary program that you apply to through the US DOT, has to somewhat be justified or in that plan. We'll probably be reaching out at the end of the calendar year here, asking for your projects, and we're happy to work with you if you have questions of what that looks like. And Luke's been familiar with the MPO process, both Luke's, I should say, familiar with that process. So we're happy to work with your staff and figure that out. Currently, we're in kind of a data collection mode, getting things ready for that. And then you'll start hearing more publicly about this plan update in the coming months. I should note too, if it's not on these slides, the MPO receives about $16 million annually in what's called Surface Transportation Block Grant funding. So we allocate those funds every year, starting in the spring. We have applications due end of the calendar year, then we award those funds in the spring. That's something that's a little more common that you're used to, but again, I mean, anything you're applying to there has to be justified in that. Safe Streets and Roads for All is another initiative that we have going on. This is a program through the most recent infrastructure bill, the bipartisan infrastructure law that passed a couple of years ago. There's a whole lot of new programs that came out of that bill. And one of them is the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. And this is a discretionary grant. And there's kind of 2 phases to this. One is a planning side of things, a phase 1 planning. This awarded a lot of money out to communities to do planning on what they call comprehensive safety action plans. So taking a look at where do you have safety issues in your region and what are some solutions to those safety issues. If you do the plan and you have a qualifying plan, then you're eligible for the second phase, which is implementation. And if you have that plan in place, any jurisdictions you can apply for up to $30 million for your community, or if the MPO were to apply, it'd be $50 million to implement those projects. What the MPO did is it applied for the whole region, and we're going to be doing a region-wide comprehensive safety action plan. And we're starting that process right now. So that'll mean that you all in the city of Norwalk, as well as all other cities, qualify for that phase 2 implementation when we get to that point. So similar to the long range plan that I just talked about. Sorry, start thinking about projects that you want to see in that planning effort. We're going to be coming around with a consultant team and talking with the communities in detail, understand where your safety issues are, what ideas you have for projects. And that way we make sure everything you want to do is justified in that plan, so that when it's time to apply for projects, you're set and you're good to go with applying for those. like I mentioned, we received $800,000 for that. So it's not an insignificant amount of money that we'll be doing. Will be lots of public involvement with this process. Like I said, consultants coming around meeting with all the communities to do this. We're hoping to have the plan done in time so that we can hit the 2025 funding cycle for the second phase of that implementation dollars, of those implementation dollars. And that should give everyone at least 2, maybe 3 years of rounds of funding for future implementation too. So if you don't get it in the first round, we still have a couple more shots at it. We're working with Tool Design as well as Confluence, HR Green, and HDR Engineering, which I know you're familiar with some of those firms too. So hopefully there's some friendly faces when they come around and start talking with everybody here. And then I do want to talk about MPO funding. I thought this was in here. Like I said, we have $16 million annually we receive in SDBG funds. And you can see there on the screen how those are targeted in our long range plan. So we say that up to 30% can be used for new roadway projects. Minimum of 20% goes to bridges, minimum of 25% goes to reconstruction, 15% to system optimization. That would be traffic signals, roundabouts, those kind of things. And then 10% to transit. These might be tweaked as we do our long range transportation plan. That's the time we look at those types of policies, but that's where we're at with that. There's also 2 other funding programs. One is the Transportation Alternatives Program. These are for things more like bicycle pedestrian facilities, trails, safe routes to schools. We get about 1.5 million annually. And then there's a new program called the Carbon Reduction Program. And this is for any projects that's going to help reduce carbon emissions. So electric vehicle charging, again, traffic signals, roundabouts, travel demand management strategies. We get about 1.3 million now through that. So there's quite a bit of money. Those money come to the MPO and are awarded directly by the MPO. And like I said, there's a whole host of other discretionary programs you can apply to on your own. And we're happy to help. If you have questions on those discretionary programs too, we try to make sure that cities are aware of what those are, when the deadlines are too. The schedule for these funds that I just talked about, we'll put application process open in December. Those will be due early January, and then it goes through a committee process to award those out in the spring. Just looking at funds that have been awarded over the last 5 or so years, you can see there on the map kind of where those have gone. And if that's a little more difficult to read, I'll just break it down here in a table format. So the city of Norwalk's received $800,000 over the last 5 years. And you compare that with the amount of money paid in assessments, which are $1 per capita, which comes out to about $52,000. So you have a nice return on investment, but we're happy to help you increase that as you start looking at projects. When you look at those applications, we're happy to sit down with your staff, help you understand how to make those applications as good as they can be so they're competitive against all the other projects from the region. I want to close out by talking about the Purple Arc Highway project, the US 565 bypass, trying to get that turned into an interstate. I think you're all pretty familiar with that. Councilwoman Reed has been very instrumental in the MPO's efforts to move this process along over the last year. So I really want to thank you for that. She provided great guidance to us as a staff to help us figure out all the pitfalls we need to work around. To kind of recap on this, the Iowa DOT has done some stakeholder engagement, largely with the agricultural community, because there are issues with slow moving vehicles and overweight vehicles that we have to overcome. So the state did their planning efforts or their outreach. We understand the benefits of it. We just have to work through some of those challenges. So what we've been doing over the last year or two, again, with Councilwoman Rita's help, is working with those ag communities. And we've started out kind of through a snowball process. We started with the cultivation corridor, and then they helped put us in connection with Bill Norley with the Ag Business Alliance, as well as Mike Steenhook with the Soy Transportation Coalition. And they in turn opened up more doors for us to help get a little bit more momentum and open up some doors that we didn't have open to us before. That's resulted in some really good relationship building with those ag stakeholders. We've had a lot of contacts that we didn't have before. And the reception to the action plan has been somewhat moderate, but we've been learning along the way. And one of the main obstacles that we've heard is from the Farm Bureau has a policy in place. And this is Polk County Farm Bureau, but it started at Polk County Farm Bureau. Now it's a statewide and actually nationwide policy that they oppose the conversion of divided highways into interstates if there's no alternate route available. So that's what we're working through now, is what does an alternative route look like? But they are open to dialogue. They do want to work through this. And one thing that we've learned is that they also want that alternate route. Continuing to do this on the corridor as they do today, it probably has a shorter timeline than maybe we thought initially, that safety, traffic's increasing, safety is becoming more precarious. So it's in the best interest of everyone that we find this alternate route. So we're continuing to work on this issue. We want to find a safe alternative. We want to help address all these issues, and that will in turn make it easier for us to pursue that interstate designation. And even if we don't pursue that interstate designation, even if that doesn't lend itself right now, we have a professional obligation to continue working on the safety issues because we can't unheard what we've heard now. We know there's a safety issue for them. We have to work through it. So we've got a couple different phases going on here. We've done phase 1 and 2, or we're kind of in phase 2 right now, continuing to work on that. What we want to do now is keep working on improving the safety of the corridor. So that could include things like expanding the exemption for slow moving vehicles. Currently it goes to US 5, the 69 overleaf there. We want to extend that over to maybe Southwest 9th, working with the DOT now to see if that's allowed. And then we might do some safety related projects to potentially put a beacon system on the road. So if a slow moving vehicle's on there, it'll flash lights and alert everybody else driving on the corridor that you need to be careful. There's slow moving vehicles ahead. And then long term, potentially looking at a corridor study to look at different alternatives, understand what the economic impact would be of an interstate designation. So it might cost money to put in some sort of alternative. But if we know that the economic impact is greater than the cost of that alternative, it would be worth it. You know, there'd be a positive return on investment. So that's some of the next things we'll be working on with that project. So stay tuned and we'll be out, I'm sure, in the future talking to you about that in more detail. That's what I have for you tonight. Happy to answer any questions or address any concerns you might have, but otherwise I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
How many farmers is actually, I've heard rumor that there's only like 2 or 3 farmers that are even affected.
We're trying to figure that out. When we had a meeting with a couple of Farm Bureau members, actual farmer members here recently, and they estimated 20 or so. And the co-ops also make deliveries and so forth using the corridor too. So that's something we're trying to get to the bottom of, but yeah, you're right. We need to.
Not in our life.
Doesn't seem that way, does it?
Hmm?
Doesn't seem that way.
Oh, it just feels so depressed. I mean, it helps so many communities in Carlisle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just frustrating.
Probably be safer for them too with the increased.
Oh,
traffic.
yeah.
Wasn't the biggest obstacle on that though, something to do with a bridge that was torn out and not maintained?
There was a bridge that was after the bypass. I don't know the timing
Yeah.
exactly, but after the bypass was opened up, there was a bridge by the old Mid-American facility that was taken out.
Okay,
There's a box bridge that was only 20 feet wide, nothing modern would even fit through it today. But yes, that is the grudge that they're.
So basically the bypass is the only way for them to cross the river right now.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to look at some alternatives, and Warren County is doing a comp plan update right now. Pleasant Hills is looking at a comp plan update. So there might be ways to preserve some corridors as those communities grow or they look at their futures that we're going to try to work within that system for that process. But otherwise we can look at some other alternative routes too. That's our next steps.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One of your early maps, the one that had all the boundaries. Or-
Planning area boundary.
Yeah. So we're looking down in that southwest area where Norwalk is at. What is the possibility to change those boundaries?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is something we are going through right now, or we will be going through here very quickly, is amending our planning area boundary. We typically do that as we start our long range planning process because we want to make sure that we're incorporating all of the growth that you are planning for as well. And so we'll be in touch with you on that to make sure that as whatever your comp plan says or whatever your future growth is, that we're anticipating that.
Perfect. Well, you touched on that because later I know you mentioned about getting a copy of our comp plan. And I quickly noticed our comp plan goes outside of that area. So,
Yep.
okay. Second thing, you were talking about the infrastructure bill. And you mentioned, I believe either it's within the infrastructure bill or the dollars that are made available through that Safe Streets program. So both of those, for any dollars that come from the infrastructure bill, have to be included in the MPO's tip.
Any of the projects that are funded with federal dollars, regardless of there's any federal DOT dollars, US DOT dollars, have to be justified by the plan. So if it's a new roadway project, we need to include that roadway as a line on the map in the long range plan and say it's whatever road from point A to point B, it's going to cost this much. If you just want to replace a bridge, for example, we don't need to list every bridge replacement. We just say our policy is to replace bridges when they're functionally obsolete.
So if we had a special project that we were pursuing, now earmarks are available again. If we wanted to pursue an earmark, that too would then have to be included.
Exactly, yes. And we can, like I said, we're working on the plan update now, but we can amend the plan at any time. It's not super difficult to do. So if things pop up, that's understandable. We will work with you on that.
The last, probably more of a comment, but the one that showed kind of that return on investment. We're always looking for advice on how we can move up higher on that list.
Like I said, we're happy to sit down as you start to look at projects. And if you say, I've got 10 projects, which one's going to score the best? We can help you look at that. And we're trying to look at some ways to make our strategic plan or our long range plan a little more strategic too. So we're not spreading the peanut butter out so much across everybody. If we can make some significant investments in a few key projects. So that's subject to change, but yeah, we're happy to sit down and work with you guys on that.
I mean, overall, I think we've had the discussion. When I've had people express some frustrations with that, I try to explain it is benefit for the overall area for traffic to work everywhere in the metro. So I don't want to sound selfish.
Yeah, I will point out, if I go back to this funding slide, there's a few of those categories, like I mentioned, system optimization, for example, doesn't get a lot of applications in that category. So that might be something to look into. That's the type of thing we can help you work through is typically we don't get a lot. So if you apply to it, you have a better chance of getting funded versus roadway capacity, which everyone goes for. So those are the types of things we can help work through and make sure that you're putting the right buzzwords in there to make it score a certain way. I will note on this, we do score projects. That scoring helps, but at the end of the day, it's really up to the policy members of which projects they want to do. And it's not just by ranked score, if that makes sense.
That's frustrating as well. Because if you have a project that scores higher than other ones, why wouldn't that project get the funding if the score is higher? But
Sure. And that's something we'll probably take a look at again when we do our long range plan here.
His life is.
because life is not fair.
I'm guessing it.
And there's some communities that have a lot more votes than others.
Yeah, from a staff perspective, I'm guessing you sense that same frustration sometimes.
We do, and it has been raised recently, every time we go through this process, and Councilwoman Ruby can attest to this, there are some questions of why did that score, or why did that get funded over this one, and sure, it's a constant battle, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. All right, item number 7 is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have expenditures, tax abatements. We have the October 5th, 2023 minutes of the regular city council meeting. We have a renewal of a Class C retail alcohol license for Echo Valley Country Club. Excuse me. We have a resolution approving the official name of the parkland dedicated to the city within the Timber Ridge development. We have a resolution to approve pay estimate number 7 to Elder Corporation for Sunset Drive, Iowa Highway 28 and Beardsley Street intersection improvements project. We have a resolution setting November 2nd, 2023 for a public hearing regarding an amendment to the North Shore Plan PUD planned unit development. We have a resolution setting dates involved with the 2024 community cleanup event. A resolution to approve partial payment number 3 to Thorpe Contracting LLC for the Wright Road water main replacement project. We have resolutions approving several pay estimates for the Norwalk Fieldhouse project. We have a resolution approving starting wage for newly hired full-time firefighter EMS provider Colin Melody. And we have the monthly reports. Can I get a motion?
Motion second.
Okay, got a motion by Rivas, seconded by Livingston. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7E was a resolution ordering construction, approving preliminary plans, and fixing the date for hearing and taking of bids for the Highway 28 and Highway 5 traffic signal project. So this is to set traffic signals at just north of Echo Valley Drive on Highway 28.
I
And
don't need to discuss. I'm just not voting for it, but I wanted it to remove.
I understand. Okay. You're good with everything else, but not this one.
Correct.
Any other discussion? I get a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivas, seconded by Cool. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
No.
Lester.
No. All right, motion carries. Item 7F is a resolution approving the official name of the parkland dedicated to the city within the Sunset Estates development. So the proposal is to name the park Sunset Park, right? But there's already a Sunset Park in Lakewood, so there would be some confusion with that.
Right, and notwithstanding the fact that Lakewood's a private development, it is still part of the city.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I don't have any grievance with Sunset Park as a name. I just don't think we should have two.
So the possible park names was Sunset Park, Swan Park, and Harvest View Park. Would you like one of the other ones, or would you, is there a preference from Park and Rec?
They did not rank them, they just voted on 3.
Okay,
And there is a more comprehensive list outside of those 3.
Okay.
If city council wants to look at those.
Ask that
This-
question. Lon, so you can
Yeah,
get an
what are
answer.
the characteristics of the park? I mean.
It's flat, there's no trees.
So probably shouldn't call it.
and there's a pond nearby, but it's not a part of the park.
Correct.
So I would put forth 3, Harvest View Park.
Harvest View Park. Is that a motion?
Sure, yes.
Seconded.
Okay, so I got a motion to name the park Harvest View Park by Livingston, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Sure, yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries.
Yeah, some barbecues there.
Okay, item 8, we have old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. So item A is a removal of from the table, the consideration of a second reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa. Wow, that's in there like
Just a
twice.
repeat. Yeah.
Yes, it is. By amending parcel J in the Echo Valley PUD to permit automotive services as improved use. Any discussion or comments from council on removal? Can I get a motion to remove the item from the table?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Livingston, seconded by Baker. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8B is a second reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa. By amending it's on there twice, by amending parcel J in the Echo Valley Planned Unit Development to permit automotive services as an approved use. So this is to allow Christian Brothers Automotive Corporation to build an automotive repair type of business along Marketplace Drive. Luke, anything to add?
Just that from the first reading, we did go back and add the architectural requirements to more lock in what the proposal was. And so those requirements are that it will use 90% of its facade area for class 1 and 2 materials.
Okay, any discussion or comments from council?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Cool. Any further discussion or public comment? Lindsay, would you, oh, yeah, go ahead. Would you state your name?
Billy Green Jr., 17725 Katy Freeway, Houston, Texas, 77094. So just give a brief overview of Christian Brothers. We're a light automotive repair facility. We've been around for 42 years. We've never closed a single location. We've got 280 locations in 30 states. We do brake shocks, tune-ups, oil changes, alignments, things of that nature, basically post-warranty work. We're open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. We do have modified hours on Saturday, only up to the first 180 days of business. After that, we're closed on all weekends. We don't do any body work, no painting, no mufflers, tire recapping, things that are considered major generators. So there's no collision painting, any of that. And we also utilize a shuttle service. So a person can drop their car off. They can take our shuttle. We'll take them back to their place of employment or home. And then when their repair is done, we'll pick them up. That's just a brief overview of who we are.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. You've come a long way. All right, any other discussion? We get a motion to approve the second reading? Or did we do that?
I think
We did, didn't we?
we-
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Lindsay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Riva.
No.
Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8C is a second reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending parcel C in the Hughes Century Crossing Plan Unit Development to permit building separations of 10 feet and total driveway lengths of 20 feet. So we heard about the zoning change at our last meeting. Some interesting center pieces of the development that are going to have like drive-through garages.
Right.
Anything you want to add?
Nope, just, it really is related to those center units. They're doing a pretty unique project there, our product there. As you mentioned, it has driveway, garage doors on both sides, driveway out to both streets, and it kind of pull through garage, so.
Okay, any discussion or questions, comments from council?
I wasn't here last time, so I apologize, but why?
So this area, I guess I can just give a full report on it. So the area that they're looking to develop is directly east of the field house, off of East 18th. And so it's bounded by the single family development on the south, and then it's restricted on the north by the gas main easement. So just dimensionality, they have some challenges of fitting their project in there. So they did townhomes on the north and south, and then trying to fit a product in the middle. They were running into issues with what they were wanting to do for the unit type. So they came up with this unique unit type and proposed it in the middle, and that has the need for a zoning amendment.
Yeah, so it's still a 2-car garage. I suppose you can.
Tim sells it way
straight
better than
through,
I am.
or you can
Unfortunately, he's
pull
not here.
Head to head,
So
but it's
2-car.
linear
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
instead of side by side.
Yep, gotcha. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You should be doing this.
No,
Definitely contributes to our diversified housing.
yeah, I agree. Any other discussion or question from council?
Thank you.
Any public comment?
Motion.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yeah.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8D is resolution approving an agreement accepting the surety for public infrastructure at the Dunn Property Plat 2 area. So there are times when a developer would like to start building prior to all the public infrastructure being built. Normally, accept the public infrastructure, and the process of recording the plat could begin and building permits could be issued. So, but in this instance, since the public infrastructure hasn't been completed, the developer is going to provide a surety bond for the amount it would take for the city to finish the public infrastructure themselves. If council accepts the surety, final plat can be recorded, building permits issued prior to the infrastructure being finished. Luke, did I get that right?
Correct.
Anything to add?
Just that the bond total is 343,000 and would encompass all of the public infrastructure. So that's water, sanitary sewer, paving, and stormwater infrastructure.
Discussion, questions, comments from council? Or any public comment?
Motion. Second.
Okay, got a motion by Livingston, seconded by Riva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8E is resolution accepting a completion surety for infrastructure and approving the final plat of Dunn Property Plat 2. So council just agreed to the surety bond to cover the public infrastructure in Plat 2. This resolution accepts complete surety and approves the final plat. Luke, is that right?
Sure.
Got anything else?
Just, so what we're talking about, project wise is 2 additional lots on Madison Street as part of the Dunn Property Industrial Park area. We have projects approved already on the 3 lots in the first phase. So that's exciting. So we've not seen anything, come through the office as far as proposed uses on these 2 lots yet. But this final plat will legally create those lots. And then allow them to be transacted on and future, as the mayor mentioned, building permits if needed.
Any questions, discussion from council or public comment?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Riva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8F. It's a second reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the Norwalk urban renewal area pursuant to section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. This is for Sportsplex. So this ordinance establishes a new urban renewal area at the sports campus. Holly, is that right?
Yes, it's just a second step in allowing us to create the TIF area within the urban renewal area amendment to stay compliant with our development agreement and then be able to utilize the TIF increment for that piece of Norwalk Central.
Okay, questions or discussion from council or public comment?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Livingston, seconded by Riva. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
No.
All right, motion carries. Item 8G is final reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending the sign regulations related to banner signage installation in the public right of way. So we had second reading of this item our last meeting. Luke, anything else to add?
No.
My microphone's broken.
Whack. Okay. Where were we?
You read it.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Great. Okay. Any discussion or questions from council? Public comment.
Second.
Motion by Riva, seconded by Livingston. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Reba.
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8H, final reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending the sign regulations related to banner signage on recreational property. So we had second reading for this item in our last meeting. Yes. Luke, anything else to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, any discussion or comments, questions from council? Or a motion?
Second.
Motion by Livingston, seconded by Riva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 9, future agenda items. So this is, purpose for this is for council to give direction to staff by way of motion to have items placed on a future agenda. It's not for discussion of the merits of the subject matter. It's just to get it out there and get a vote. Any future agenda items for tonight? Anybody wants to talk about it? Nope. Hearing none, we'll go to item number 10, council inquiries and staff updates. Luke.
I've got a few items first. Andy, don't get your hopes up. Meetings usually don't go this fast.
I know.
With that, we had our meet and greet today where all of the candidates that are running for council were present. That was a great chance for our department heads to provide some good update and also for staff to hear from the candidates as well. So that went well. And right after that, we went to the City State Bank Fieldhouse, did a tour of the facility. It's coming along nicely. The word from the project managers were that things are still on schedule, and you could see from the update that things are looking pretty good. So that was positive. The last thing I'll bring up, tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with a representative from Joni Ernst's office. And their specific topic is to talk about the availability of earmarks that has now re-entered the abilities for Congress, which I think is great. Part of the reason I asked that question of Dylan when he was here. So I plan to show him our CIP and just talk through what kind of projects might have some potential to go through that process.
Cool.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay. Brian?
One thing to be on the radar for, Tuesday morning's MAC meeting, talked about. It's on the legislature's radar of working with TIP, hopefully modifying and not revamping. So we get more of that. So,
Great, thanks. Lindsay?
Nothing.
Robin?
No.
Holly?
I just want to say thank you publicly to Fairway for listening, if anybody's listening. The event with Jason Momoa on Monday went phenomenal. I think they said they had between 4,500 and 5,000 people come through in an hour and a half. Sold 1,800 bottles.
1,800 miles.
Jason and the team, they were awesome with everybody. Fairway gave us a few kind of private invites to get in for the city. So we were able to be have some private time with him. So it was pretty cool. And the whole community really came out. He was very happy and excited with how the community treated him and what everybody did to kind of show up for their hometown guy. So it was pretty cool.
And I think the community was really happy with the whole event.
Yes.
it's amazing.
It was
Yeah.
pretty great. The Norwalk made the news a lot in the last couple of weeks. And then this coming Wednesday, the president of Kosovo will be here. So chief and our teams met with the Secret Service this morning and their presidential advisors and kind of plan things out and scope stuff out. So a few changes. We initially thought that we would have the ceremonial bits at the public safety building and just kind of based on the formality of it and all the different security kind of openings there. They thought it'd be better to just be here at City Hall. So we're planning on doing it here at City Hall next Wednesday at 2:30. So Greg's team, they're working with everybody on parking and where the motorcade will go and all of that. So that's great. We're working with the media. So we'll be sending out a detailed agenda to everybody and really hope everybody on the city side can attend that because we're not opening this up to just wide open public because of security. But hopefully staff, department leaders, elected officials, media, some of our business leaders and things like that can attend it. So we'll get that out here tomorrow. Just keep that in mind. And just as a reminder, it's a very formal society, number one, and number two, it is a president of a country. So the protocol is very formal. So just keeping that in mind.
But she is a lovely, kind, gracious woman.
Yes.
And very smart and accomplished. And so y'all show up big because I
Yeah.
can't be here.
Yes.
That's too bad.
It is too bad. I'm very disappointed, but
Jean?
In the process of reviewing the draft audit, I got a copy of that from Denman and Company yesterday. They'll be bringing the final presentation November 2nd. So for 8 years and running, we had no internal control deficiencies, no instances of noncompliance, and nothing negative related to statutory reporting. So
Good job.
another clean audit, so pretty happy and love working with Denman. And again, they'll be here next time to present.
Cool.
We have a 3-year contract.
Yeah, we just extended it 2 years.
Okay.
I think this is the 4th year, if I'm not mistaken. It's gone so fast. So yeah, we got one more and then we'll have to review it.
Cool. Awesome. Chief?
From the police perspective, the Jason Momoa event went great. We were asked to come out and quell some issues in the line at one point. Some line breaking was going on. It was a big deal for them. We went out and it turned out to be about an 80-year-old woman with a cane. And we decided not to do anything. And then of interest, after the event, there was a lady in line who was partaking in alcoholic spirits and was arrested for OWI when she left. But other than that, it went great. The security plan is going fine. Officer Haller and Sergeant Reed are all over it. So I don't expect any problems there. And in a future agenda, we've had some calls here lately about trash cans in the road. A review of our code with Travis and Community Development and Jim tells us that our code is lacking in proper direction. So you'll see that come up in a future agenda item to revise our code preventing trash cans in the road.
Is that like wind on a garbage day?
No,
I mean,
No, it's people putting their trash cans in the road as opposed to on their
on the curb.
curb.
Yeah. So that's all.
Thanks.
I think congratulations might be in order for the chief too. He had a successful hunting engagement.
I did. Had a great trip to Wyoming and I'm still trying to recover.
Good. Chief.
Thank you. September 16th through the 23rd, I traveled to the National Fire Academy at Emmitsburg, Maryland. I took a new executive chief officer class. It was a really good opportunity to learn with other new chiefs around the country. And we see that we all have the same problems, just in different areas of the country. So it was a really good opportunity. Last week, October 8th through the 14th was Fire Prevention Week. We had several activities that the fire department took part in. The fire inspector and Sparky visited Oviatt Elementary and Orchard Hills to went to all the classrooms, talk about fire safety. And then we had the fire prevention open house on the 12th. We estimated we had almost 500 visitors come through. It was really big this year. We had a lot of stations set up. Thank you to the library. They had a station set up and the PD came and visited with us. We also had League of Heroes out there. We also crews went and visited with all of the daycares and preschools in the city as well. So it was a successful fire prevention week.
Awesome.
Cool. Good deal. Wayne.
The Chatham and Highway 28 project, you'll see some work beginning there on Monday. They're mobilizing here this week, bringing in cones and traffic control. With that project beginning and the ongoing Pier 1, the DOT has decided to delay their Highway 28 patching until the spring. They don't want to try to coordinate with our project, so they decided to delay.
You didn't talk very much.
That's all I have.
All right, Carrie.
Nothing tonight.
Yeah, just a few things. Permit wise, we're still on track for around 200 residential permits for the year. That going to be on average on track with our average in the late 2010s. So that's pretty good. We have 8 commercial permits we're reviewing right now. We just accepted payment for the Fairfield permit today, which was great because that was $49,000. We're getting ready to issue the Michael Foods expansion permit tomorrow, and that one will probably be around 80,000. So some good revenue coming into community development. So that's good. And the nuisance side, we've been getting some tree complaints on dead diseased trees. So we're dealing with those. As we've gone through a new lean process, I think we've got a better handle on that. So we may be being a little more proactive with some of those trees going forward, especially as more of them die from emerald ash borer. So, yeah.
Thanks. Ed?
No, sir, other than thank everybody for the event today. That was really well done, I thought, and appreciated the tour of the facility.
Cool. Good. David?
One thing on the North Middle River waterfront side, at our next meeting, hopefully we'll have a support agreement for a grant process coming forward. and have a discussion about that more then, but nothing there really other than this sport, so.
Hey, Stephanie.
I was going to give you a heads up that you need to start thinking about road projects for the MPO, but Dylan covered it.
All right. Dean Strable, you got anything?
Hi there. I just wanted to pipe in to say you all missed a great fall festival at the library. We had 650 people and about 40 petting zoo animals, and a great time was had by all. So check our
All right.
calendar for other fun stuff.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jim.
I guess I let you know that we did file an infraction in Warren County District Court this week for a unpermitted shed out in Maco Valley. We kind of had ignored a number of warnings that the city had sent. Refused to respond, so we're going to make him respond.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
I was just gonna mention Fairway, so I think they got it covered. Fairway and the PD did a great job. So it was really smooth and getting in there and getting out for us anyway. So. All right, item 11. It's closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 2151C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation. Jim, is this a valid reason to go into closed session?
Yes.
All right, can I get a motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Motion by Rivas, seconded by Livingston. Lindsay, would you please call the roll?
I see that.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. We're gonna go, let's take a 5 minute. And we'll be back for the closed session.
Yeah, let's go. I'm sorry.
Thank you for this.